Mike was probably something 10 nights ago domestic violence. All of the works. Nights into nights of English. So I don't know if we used to do candy and training. All of the
What's your question? How do you react to this?
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm running.
Oh, is that from you? Yeah. Oh, thank you.
These lights are brutal.
All right, that's ready. Strip quiet.
I didn't see 2 years in a row, right? It's only the 26th.
Cypress's anniversary too.
What is it?
One night out.
Okay, we're ready. Good evening and welcome to the full legislative meeting tonight on, what are we at, October 5th, 2022. If we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and if Legislator Yonke could lead us, please.
Yes, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next is our legislative prayer, and Legislator Albano is going to lead us.
We meet to serve our community, to use our resources wisely and well, to represent all members of our community fairly, to make decisions that promote the common good. We recognize our responsibilities to the past and the future, and the rights and needs of both individuals and community. As trusted servants, we seek blessings in our deliberations and our efforts here today. May we all act wisely and well. Amen.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
District 1, Legislator Montgomery. District 2, Legislator Goulden.
Present.
District 3, Legislator Adnesian.
Present.
District 4, Legislator Nasarino.
Present.
District 5, Legislator Albano.
Present.
District 6, Legislator Yonke.
President.
District 7, Legislator Castellano.
Present.
District 8, Legislator Sage.
Present.
District 9, Chairman Sullivan.
Present. Tonight we also have some proclamations to hand out, and our first proclamation tonight is for Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and Legislator Sage is going to present that.
Ann Ellsworth and Amy DeHaze. Thank you so much for coming. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I'll just read the certification, the proclamation. Domestic violence is an epidemic affecting individuals in every community, including Putnam County, regardless of age, economic status, sexual orientation, gender, race, religion, or nationality. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 5 men are victims of some form of physical violence by an intimate partner. The COVID-19 pandemic exacerbated risk factors for domestic violence victims, isolated survivors, and hindered victims from seeking assistance. In 2021, the Putnam Northern Westchester Women's Resource Center, WRC, answered 1,016 hotline calls from victims. In 2021, WRC staff accompanied 151 victims to the Putnam County Sheriff's Court, District, Attorney, Probation. And in 2022, with the support of the Putnam County Executive, the Putnam County Legislature, and the Division of Criminal Justice Services, the Women's Resource Center and the Sheriff's Department joined forces to create a special victim space for adult victims of domestic and sexual violence. This center seeks to provide trauma-informed, safe, and comfortable home-like space for victims to report the crime to law enforcement, receive advocacy, and safety planning from the Women's Resource Center. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Putnam County Executive, Mary Ellen Odell, Putnam County Legislature, do hereby proclaim October 2022 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Putnam County. And I'd like to thank Ann Ellsworth, who's the Executive Director of Putnam Northern Westchester Women's Resource Center, as well as Amy DeHaze, Probation Supervisor for the Putnam County Probation Department. And maybe you'd like to say a few words.
Well, you know me.
I do.
I'd like to invite the sheriff up if he doesn't mind. Should have invited you up before. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming up. This is an amazing partnership that we have in Putnam County to address domestic and sexual violence. The Sheriff's Department, Probation, the District Attorney's Office, the Legislature, our county exec. It's been an amazing collaboration. We would love it if victims didn't need us, but they do. Unfortunately, right now, there are victims and their kids fleeing because it's the safest time. They're entering our shelter or they're entering another shelter. And because of the support of this county over all of these years, 42 now, we've been able to provide these services. And identifying October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month makes us able to bring more awareness to the world about what goes on behind closed doors that so many don't see until the Sheriff's Department is called, until they come to probation or they come to the Women's Center. And gratefully, I have these amazing partners and you all to help us continue this really important work. Thank you for bringing this to the world's attention, and thank you for always supporting our work.
I'd just like to thank the county exec, the legislative body, and the Women's Resource Center, and Amy, in particular, Ann. Without this, a lot of negative adverse impact would occur on the victims of domestic violence. This stems that to some degree. We're working harder and harder each and every day to be better partners, and we hope one day we're out of business.
Right, amen. Thank you. You want to say?
I just wanted to say thank you, and from the probation department, we feel very strongly that this is something that needs to be addressed, not just in Putnam County, but all over the United States in general. We have seen in ourselves in our department an uptick, especially through COVID, of women, specifically women, and their children looking for resources. And it has been a pleasure to work with both the sheriff and Ann from the Women's Center and our other police partners in helping them with this issue. So thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
for providing these resources.
The next proclamation is National Fire Prevention Week, and Legislator Nassarino is going to present that.
Told the sheriff we should come up too.
Just gonna read, how are you? Nice to see you. National Fire Prevention Week will be October 9th through 15th, 2022, during which attention will be focused on promoting fire safety and prevention. In 2020, there were 1,400,000 reported fires in the United States, 3,500 deaths caused by fires, and 15,200 injuries. Those fires resulted in an estimated $21.9 billion in property damage. The National Fire Protection Association has announced this year's Fire Prevention Week campaign,
Fire Won't Wait, Plan Your Escape, which works to educate everyone about simple but important actions they can take to keep themselves and those around them safe from home fires. Today's homes burn faster than ever. You may have as little as 2 minutes or even less time to safely escape a home fire from the time the smoke alarm sounds. Your ability to get out of a home of a fire depends on early warning from smoke alarms and advanced planning and fail to operate. Missing or non-functional power sources, including missing or disconnected batteries, dead batteries, and disconnected hardware alarms other than AC power issues are the most common factors when smoke alarms fail to operate. People tend to remove smoke alarm batteries or dismantle smoke alarms altogether when the alarm begins to chirp as a result of low batteries, or the alarm is no longer working properly, or when experiencing nuisance alarms. And it is important for everyone to plan and practice a home fire escape. Everyone needs to be prepared in advance so that they know what to do when the smoke alarm sounds. Given that every home is different, every home fire escape plan will also be different. When a smoke alarm or carbon monoxide alarm sounds, respond immediately by exiting the home as quickly as possible. Putnam County is served by dedicated volunteer fire departments whose service we greatly appreciate and value. In 2020, across the nation, there were 102 firefighter deaths and 64,875 firefighter injuries. Taking time to learn the sounds that smoke alarms make and how to respond to them will help save lives. Therefore, be it resolved, the Putnam County Executive, Mary Ellen O'Dell, and the Putnam County Legislature do hereby proclaim the week of October 9th through 15, 2022 as National Fire Prevention Week in the County of Putnam, and remind all citizens to learn about the sounds that smoke alarms make and what those sounds mean to do, and to visit their local fire departments and fire prevention programs. This is for you.
That was a lot.
And it was a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. So I would like to thank County Executive O'Dell and, of course, our legislature, and, of course, you for being our Protective Services Chairwoman.
Thank you.
On behalf of all the volunteers in the county, I accept this with greatness. And, of course, I'm happy you're always recognizing Fire Prevention Week, the most important week of the year for the fire departments. As it states, again, we're focusing this year on safety plans. People are still getting stuck in residential structure fires and commercial fires, and as you read in there, you have about 2 minutes to get out. So it's so important to have a plan and practice a plan. In fact, this weekend I was out of detail, and parents are still asking, you know, should the kids come to our room? Should you teach them to get out? And we always say, yes, you have to teach them to get out. Practice a plan, and of course have the smoke detectors. You know, we're still finding many residents that, you know, have missing batteries and haven't updated to the 10-year smoke alarm. So we encourage everyone to get out next week for Fire Prevention Week, visit your local fire departments. A lot of them are putting on some great open houses throughout the month. And of course, our volunteers will be visiting all the schools and teaching education.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
awareness is the key to safety.
Awareness,
so
definitely.
Thank you
Thank you.
and to
Thank
all
you,
the
Mr. Chairman.
volunteers in Putnam County.
I just want to give a shout out to all those guys going through Firefighter 1 right now.
Yes.
You guys put in, 11 hours a week for 86 hours, 2 nights a week, and an all day on Saturday. And, thank you to all the young guys coming in and their dedication and putting in all that time.
Thank you for
It's
recognizing.
a lot of training.
It's a lot of training for our volunteers.
And I thank you for that. The alarms are going off a lot lately.
Yes, they are.
Next proclamation tonight is National Lead Poisoning Prevention Week, and that's going to be presented by Legislator Adamizio.
Brian Stevens, Associate Public Health Sanitarian. How are you? Every Putnam County resident deserves to grow up in a healthy, safe environment, free from harmful effects of lead. The major source of lead exposure is the dust from deteriorating lead-based paint. or renovations to houses or childcare facilities built before 1978, and lead poisoning caused by renovations can be prevented by using EPA-certified contractors who follow the renovation, repair, and painting rule. 73% of lead poisoning cases have lead-based paint as the primary or contributing source. And although individuals with lead poisoning often exhibit no symptoms, lead interferes with normal brain development and is associated with permanently reduced IQ, learning disabilities, behavioral disorders, and has been cited as an indicator of decreased lifelong learning potential. An estimated 535,000 preschool children in the United States are living with high lead levels, and high enough to call for medical management. It is vital that all Putnam County residents, especially parents and child caregivers, are aware of the dangers of lead poisoning and seek appropriate screening for their children as a preventative measure. October 23rd to 29th is National Lead Poisoning Prevention Week and is an opportunity for Putnam County to provide education and raise awareness. Be it resolved that Putnam County Executive Marianne Odell and the Putnam County Legislature do hereby proclaim October 23rd to the 29th as Lead Poisoning Prevention Week in Putnam County.
Thank you.
Would you like to speak on that?
On behalf of Dr. Deschwa, I just want to thank the legislature and the county executive for bringing awareness to this program. It is a very important program for our department because it does directly affect the lives of children. I just want to mention that children should be tested at the age of 1 and again at age of 2 for lead. And it's also important that when people are working on older homes, whether it's the homeowner or the renovators, they do use lead-safe work practices to minimize hazards.
Now, I just want to ask you a question. If somebody does find lead, that old paint, in an older home, what is the remediation process? Is there any help for people from government?
Unfortunately,
any grants?
Not so much.
No. Okay.
But there are
That's
ways of enclosing areas or,
Right.
or repainting areas so it minimizes those hazards.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next proclamation is going to be for National Substance Prevention Month, and Legislator Albano is going to present that.
Well, Mike. Christine McDonald is the Executive Director of our Prevention Council program, but we have Mike here tonight. Mike Piazza. Okay, October, I'm sorry, Mike. I think everybody knows Mike. October is National Substance Abuse Prevention Month, whereas every day too many Americans, including Putnam County residents, are hurt by substances and use disorders. From diminished achievements in our schools to great risks on our roads and in the communities, to the heartache caused by the lives of tragically short. The consequences of substance abuse are profound, yet we also know that they are preventable. This month we pay tribute to all those working to prevent substance abuse in our community. And we rededicate ourselves to build a safer, drug-free Putnam County. By promoting awareness, we aim to stop substance abuse before it starts. We can prevent the disease and addiction and create stronger neighborhoods across our community. Resolved that Putnam County Executive and the Putnam County Legislature do hereby declare October 22nd, 2022 as Substance Use Prevention Month, along with the Prevention Council of Putnam, the Putnam County CTC Coalition, and all substance use prevention treatments providers in Putnam County encourage all residents to increase the awareness of substance use and actively support and encourage referrals to harm reduction, treatment and recovery, support of individuals and support of individuals with substance use disorders. And I apologize, I finally realized I need glasses. It took me this long, I'm going to be 67, I don't know. First Mike, thank you, yeah. I didn't
Very
think.
dark up there.
Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you. Kristen McConnell of the Prevention Council, Arms Acres, Cove Care, and representatives from St. Christopher's Inn could not be here tonight, so he got me. So that's right. Kristen was supposed to be here and at the last minute wasn't able to make it. But I wanted to, on behalf of those, everybody, I wanted to thank the county executive and the legislature for recognizing National Substance Abuse Prevention Month. In the midst of an unprecedented opiate epidemic that has lasted for years and shows no sign of abatement, this year in Putnam, we're on pace to do a much worse year in terms of unintentional opiate overdose fatalities than ever before. In the face of that, prevention is so important. Prevention is important to young people, to provide them with values of wellness, and so that they don't try drugs in the first place. But our culture is an experimentation culture, and everyone is willing to try something at some time. So prevention is also treatment. It's also getting people into treatment right away. It's also people who are in serious trouble, getting them to rehabilitation, and sometimes long-term rehabilitation. And in the harm reduction that you mentioned, things like Narcan, with all the saves that the fire department and the sheriff and I were talking yesterday about a Narcan save that occurred yesterday, EMS, and all of the saves that are happening with Narcan. And if you walk down the corridor of DSS, you'll see a Narcan kit, just in case there's an emergency. We still are on pace to have the most deaths this year than ever before. So prevention is really, really important, and I really appreciate the legislature and the county executive for recognizing that. Thank you very much.
On a positive note, okay, I have 5 children, so of course we've been exposed to all of this. When you talk about rehabilitation, it is amazing. I meet people every day that are very successful and have a story to tell. And it goes right through you, because you realize it can be done, they can beat it. And I have somebody that's working for me now doing some, contracting work. And when he told me his story, it was amazing to think here he is, successful, got through it. And it's because of groups that you mentioned that do this, and it's fantastic. Thank God we have them.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for what you do.
Our next proclamation is honoring New York State Trooper Francis Rush, and Legislator Goldman is going to present that.
Thank you. When I think of the word hero, I think of one individual, and that's New York State Trooper Francis Rush. He can't be here today because he's actually in Puerto Rico with New York State troopers doing work with the hurricane. So we'll get him here in the next month or two.
Okay, thank you. Next item then on the agenda is our Physical Services Committee, and I will turn it over to Chairman. I'm sorry, what did I miss? Sorry, jumped ahead. Item 4 is approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of September 6th, 2022. Item 5 is correspondence from our county auditor. We have none. And item 6 then is the pre-filed resolutions, which will be the Physical Services Committee and Chairman Havana.
Thank you, Chairman Sullivan. 6A is approval of the budgetary amendment 22A061, Highways and Facilities, Snake Hill Road Culvert Replacement Project, known as BIN 8762.77. This is in an amount of $1,224,379. And this and the next 6B are all being 100% reimbursement from the New York Bridge program.
Any discussion, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
6B is an approval of budgetary amendment 22A062, Highways and Facilities, Peekskill Hollow Road Culvert Replacement, known as PIN number 8762.76. This is in an amount of $1,171,801, and again, 100% bridge money, New York State bridge money.
Any discussion or questions? Legislator Goldman.
Thank you, Chairman. This 6B has troubled me, and I've mentioned it many times in committees. With Mill Street being done and being delayed almost 6 months to 9 months, and the current situation on Peekskill Hollow Road and Osceola Lake Road, it's a catastrophe what's going on in Putnam Valley area that I represent. They have come back to work, but we're going into winter months, and it's a major issue. We did get a commitment that this work would not occur until after all the work is done on Peekskill Hollow Road, Osceola Road, the 2 bridges that are being done. So because we have a commitment in writing that this is not going to occur until this is all done, so we're talking a few years down the road, I would support this. If it's attempted to be done before this work is done, I'd be the first person out there to stop this. But because we have a commitment, I will support this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Comments? Questions? Representative Montgomery.
A comment of being fully aware of and staying on top of the process of this and when it's going to happen, and understanding that there are many constituents who are concerned about the project, and the hope is to keep them fully informed above and beyond the norm, because I find more communication tends to bring in the public, and they're at ease once we give them the information. I think SHPO will have a part of this in reviewing it, and there's also Tompkins Corners Cultural Center that it has some concerns, because it's right where that, cultural center that is very active with farmers market, poetry readings, concerts every weekend. So we'll just keep an eye on it, and hopefully we'll get all the information as it comes from the Highway Department.
Just a comment. These were identified as things that need to be done in the near future, so they're on the hit list. It's important to have the money in place. As far as all the questions and everything else that needs to be done, that will be addressed in the future, but this is getting ahead of it so that we know we have funding to address things that they're not going to get better, they're only going to get worse, so it's important to be ahead of this.
Yeah, and
Exactly, thank you.
if I may, the public has questions now, so I think it's important to answer them now.
Well, we don't have answers yet. In other words, this all has to be explored now
Then
in
they should
months
be
to come.
responded to with an answer. We don't have the answer yet.
Sure.
And I think you got the same correspondence I did.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
Anyone else? Being that there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
6C is an approval request to donate Town of Southeast Brewster Industrial Owner LLC an approval of a permanent easement, Tilly Foster Farm, Pugsley Road. This is property that is getting donated to us, and they're requiring a permanent easement to address water and drainage issues.
Any further discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
6D is an approval of a local law to amend the code of County of Putnam by adding Chapter 117 entitled Apprenticeship Training Program. This is something that came up, almost everyone recognizes the value of apprenticeship programs. And New York State recognizes this, whereas contracts of a certain size, one of the requirements would be to have an apprenticeship training program. It's a fantastic thing for young people. There's a big need for it, and it would always keep like a fresh, young, possibly young workforce ready to move to the next years.
Anyone else? Comment? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Albano. Next, we'll move on to the Rules, Enactments, and Intergovernmental Relations Committee, and Chairwoman Adamizio.
Thank you, Chairman Sullivan. On behalf of myself and legislators Nasarino and Sage, I move 6E, which is the approval and appointment to the Reapportionment Commission, Resolution 164 of 2022. The Putnam County Legislature created a bipartisan reapportionment commission in accordance with Putnam County Charter 1401 to make recommendations for revisions for reapportionment of county legislative districts. Resolution 164 appointed 7 initial members to the commission and provided that the legislature may subsequently appoint additional members. Whereas Mr. Gary Ditlow has submitted a request to the Putnam County Legislature to volunteer his time to be a member on said commission. The Rules, Enactments, and Intergovernmental Relations Committee has reviewed and approved said request received from Mr. Gary Ditlow. Now therefore it be it resolved that the Putnam County Legislature hereby appoints Gary Ditlow to serve as a member of the Reapportionment Commission. I would like to thank Mr. Gary Ditlow for volunteering his time, and it's truly appreciated.
Any other discussion, comments, questions? Legislator O'Donnell.
Yeah, I had sat in the last time they did the redistricting, and it's a lot of work, so it's great that we have somebody volunteering, because it takes a lot of time, and it's not as easy as it sounds to do what needs to be done.
Great. Anyone else?
Thank
Legislator Montgomery?
Thank Gary, he is from my district, and I really appreciate the background that he comes with the data scientist background, and IBM, he's currently retired from IBM research, and he does have experience in this data collection, and it's great to have his brain on this. Thanks.
Anyone else? Being no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to the Protective Services Committee and Chairwoman Nassarino.
Thank you, Chairman Sullivan. On behalf of myself and Legislator Sage and Ms. Sullivan, I would like to move forward with Agenda Item 6F, approval of budgetary amendment 22A063, Sheriff's Department automotive insurance recoveries. The Sheriff has requested a budgetary amendment to account for the reimbursement received from Insurance and Allstate Company to offset the cost of repairing one sheriff vehicle involved in an auto accident on July 1st, 2022. And this is incoming money in the amount of $7,064.87.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Moving on to 6G, budgetary amendment 22A065, Sheriff's Department jail maintenance insurance recoveries. The Sheriff has requested a budgetary amendment to account for reimbursement received from Travelers Indemnified Insurance Company of Connecticut to cover damages to the jail intercom. Again, this is incoming money in the amount of $10,655.22 for repairs.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
6H is budgetary amendment 22T 210 to correct resolution 103 of 2022 Emergency Services F 2021 State Homeland Security Program. This budgetary transfer is to correct the automated line and resolution 103 of 2022 for State and Homeland Security. The funding will be placed in the automotive line and will move out of the motor vehicles line. So it's this is just merely a housekeeping detail to put the money in the right budget line, and that is in the amount of $100,000.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Next, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Excuse me?
Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, okay. Moving to agenda item 6I is approval grant allocation Sheriff's Department, State, and Municipal Facilities Grant Program. Through New York State and the Office of Senator Peter Hartman, the Putnam County Sheriff's Department has been allocated $100,000 through the SAM Grant Facilities Grant, which is administered through the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York, known as DASD. Grant funding will be used to purchase a 3D, 360-degree laser scanners and equipment for mapping schools and other facilities. A comprehensive overview was presented at Protective Services meeting by Sheriff McConnell and Under Sheriff Linder. The 3D mapping program for emergency response provides data of exact measurements of a school or facility, including doors, doorknobs, exits, windows, handles, ceiling tiles, etc., thus alleviating the guesswork when entering a building in an emergency situation. This program will allow the Sheriff's Department to map as they work through the Team Up for School Safety program. It is also a multi-use program which will aid in crime scenes reconstruction and photography. It is not limited to just schools, but also hospitals, government buildings, municipal buildings, and any other facility wishing to be included. I would like to thank Senator Hoffman, who was instrumental in obtaining the funds for Putnam County. This data will be shared with fire, EMS, and other agencies. It is cutting-edge technology and will have a profound effect towards protecting our children and the public. There are no matching funds required for the county to accept the SAM grant. Therefore, I would like to make a motion to approve the county submission through DASNY for an awarded by the SAM Facilities Grant Program for $100,000.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to the Audit and Administration Committee, and Chairman Castellano.
Thank you, Chairman. On behalf of legislators Albano and Goulden, I'd like to bring forward the following. Item 6J is the approval of the budgetary amendment for social services, the Child Advocacy Center Crime Victims Assistance Program grant. This is in the amount of $45,297. That's incoming money to Putnam County to use at the center there. And the resolution in front of us is just putting the money in the proper allocations, and it's a good thing for Putnam County.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 7 is other business. Does anybody have any other business I'd like to bring forward tonight? Being that there is no other business, item 8 is recognition of public on agenda items. Is any public here that'd like to speak to any agenda item? Being that there's none, I'll move on to item 9, which is recognition of legislators. If any legislators would like to bring up any topic, please, this is your time. Legislator Montgomery.
No, Mike's still here. I want to give another shout out to Mike, and it is also Mental Illness Awareness Week. It was something that Congress established in 1990. This year's focus, according to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, is what I wish I had known. And on their website, people tell their stories. There's a blog and videos of people suffering from mental illness and talking about what they wish people knew about their anxiety, what they wish people knew about their depression and bipolar disorder. And I guess, it struck me, what I wish I had known is what services were available and how to get them. And, that's where I've been since I took public office and trying to gather those services. And that's how the Phillipstown Behavioral Health Hub actually came to be. And what I learned today in meeting with a lot of mental health providers in Putnam County is that we are coming together with more unity than ever. And with a commitment not only to help those who are suffering from mental illness, but to help the communities and the neighborhoods that are also struggling, because it has that effect on everybody around them. And sometimes it has a dangerous effect, and law enforcement is our partner in that too. But I just want to thank, again, the Putnam providers, Cove Care, Life Stance, Green Chimneys, Case Management, Brewster State Facility, the Rose House, Prevention Council, Arms Acres, St. Christopher's. I feel like we may be finally bridging a gap, the geographical gap and the divide, and understanding and need how we can together provide for those who are suffering. And I have some data that I pulled from a grant application that the hub was doing. And in Phillipstown, medical emergencies, which include mental health and addiction calls, are far and away the most frequent calls first responders go to. It's estimated that 15 to 20% of these calls address mental health and addiction needs. So between 2018 and 2020, 392 medical calls were received. In 2021 alone, 137 were received, and more than a third of the previous the 137 is more than the previous 3-year total. So the hub's increasing mental health and addiction response during 2020 and 2021. The hub itself had 2,750 participant contacts. That's people calling the hub for help, for resources. This is just Little Phillipstown. During 21-22, the number increased to 4,456. And in just this quarter alone, this year, 2022-23, there have been over 1,000 contacts. We started this because we didn't have services in Phillipstown, and this is the number of people that they're contacting, that they're getting help for, that they're actually doing the case management. I learned today that Putnam County itself pretty much has one case manager that goes out into the field. So this has been my focus since I took office here and before, and it will continue. So I guess going into budget season, what I just glanced at in the budget, our mental health workers, our health workers, our food stamp workers are the lowest paid in our county. And I hope we do well by them this budget season. Thank you.
Anyone else? I'd just like to mention that tomorrow night is going to be the budget address. County Executive Odell will be presenting her 2023 budget to the legislature as well as the public, and that will begin at 7 p.m. If anybody would like to attend, please do so. Thank you. Legislator Anizio?
Yes. I recently sent a letter to Governor Kathy Hochul and the New York State Legislature regarding Senate Bill S-51001 and Assembly Bill 41001. I, Putnam County Legislator Tony Anizio, along with the undersigned members of the Putnam County Legislature, write to express our vehement opposition to the law enacted on July 1st, 2022, through the Senate bills and Assembly Bill, modifying New York State concealed carry application process and criteria. Among other things, this new law imposes an overly involved, lengthy, cumbersome, complicated, confusing, expensive, and burdensome process to obtain and retain a concealed carry handgun license. This new process is resulting in unnecessary confusion and expense, as well as excessive workloads for our county clerk's office, sheriff's department, and licensing officers. The law also makes it a felony for individuals with a valid handgun license to peacefully possess a handgun in any New York State park, in places of worship, in many restaurants, and in countless other public and private so-called sensitive locations where residents, businesses, and municipalities operate, live, work, shop, socialize, conduct business, and pay taxes. The law was not enacted because of any deficiencies in the prior licensing process, nor was it enacted because of any problems caused by the places that licensed gun owners could possess guns. Instead, this legislation was nothing more than a knee-jerk, unvetted, hyper-political overreaction to the recent United States Supreme Court decision, the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association Incorporated versus Bruin. Shamefully, these massive bills introduced into the Senate and Assembly in an extraordinary session rushed through to floor votes and signed into law all in a single day, without public knowledge, discussion, or input. This law is an unconstitutional infringement upon the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens to keep and bear arms. It is poorly drafted, devoid of common sense, and does nothing to deal with the crime problems that plague our states. While those problems have nothing to do with licensed gun owners, they are, however, exacerbated by New York's recently enacted and equally ill-conceived bail reform and discovery reform laws. It is not just a matter of our opinion that New York's new gun control laws are unconstitutional. The United States District Court for the Northern District of New York recently found that challenged portions of the law, including the so-called sensitive location carry bans, are unconstitutional. The court would have enjoined the law's enforcement if the plaintiff had proper standing to sue. Essentially, the same case has been filed with new plaintiffs, and it, along with several other legal challenges that have been filed in federal and New York State courts, are almost certain to invalidate and unconstitutional most, if not all, of the provisions of this law. The state of New York should not be forcing its citizens to sue to restore the constitutional rights taken away from them by bad legislation. The state also should not be wasting taxpayers' dollars to defend against legal challenges to such a blatantly unconstitutional law designed to deprive peaceful, law-abiding citizens of their constitutional rights and make exercising those rights as difficult and expensive as possible. Putnam County taxpayers should not be forced to fund the implementation of such a law on the county level. Simply put, Senate Bill 51001 and Assembly Bill 41001 is a very bad law. The New York State Legislature should immediately repeal. Sincerely, Legislator Tony Agnizio, Chairman Neil Sullivan, Deputy Chairman Paul Yonke, Legislator William Gouldman, Legislator Ginny Nasarino, Legislator Carl Albano, Legislator Joseph Castellano, and Legislator Amy Sage. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may, I didn't see that. Was that passed through the legislature?
It wasn't passed, it's a letter.
Okay.
It's a letter.
How did you communicate to get it all signed?
I didn't send it to you.
Well, wouldn't that be ex parte communication,
No,
if I may?
it was a letter.
May I ask the
You sure can.
So communication with the majority of the legislature as a quorum and not in public, is that ex parte communication?
The ex parte communication is a communication with a court, has nothing to do with the legislature.
Okay, so it's legal and, you know, according to open meetings law and all that, for the legislature to communicate together as a body to send something to anybody, New York State Legislature.
Through the chair, the open
Yes.
meetings law only applies to meetings.
Okay, so you guys are communicating as a quorum without the public's knowledge. That's what's happening here. That's all. It's striking to me. That's the truth.
No, not what happened.
It's not a
There's
quorum.
nothing, there's absolutely no
I think
there's no
I think the
law
public would
Excuse
controlling,
me. He's
there is
speaking.
no law controlling discussions of legislators among themselves. The open meetings law applies to meetings of a quorum of legislators. As far as I know, we're not discussing anything to do with a meeting of legislators.
Okay, can I just clarify? 8 legislators are communicating and forming a signed document without the public's knowledge. That's just interesting to me.
It is public.
That is routine business. Legislators routinely speak to each other and do business by phone, by email. It is only when legislators meet in a meeting, in a physical meeting, in a quorum, and do business as a quorum, that the open meetings law is implicated.
And why wasn't it sent to me?
Actually, you did find out. It was sent after everybody signed it, right? It was sent out to everybody who was aware of it.
After everybody signed it. So,
Well, I didn't think you would be
okay, thank you.
approving of this, and I'm sure you have sent letters also to
On
Governor.
my own, I don't
Right, but you
get
have,
them.
oh, well, so you didn't ask anyone.
I don't gather.
But you did the same thing then, so you didn't ask.
No, I'm not
You
a
did.
quorum, I'm not
Doesn't matter.
asking, there's
So
no
you send
expectation.
letters on your own and meet
Sure.
yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Legislator Yonke.
Yeah, I just want to ask council, is there anything inappropriate about us communicating and sending a letter to the governor?
Absolutely not.
So there's nothing inappropriate, right from our councils.
That's why-
I'm
that's why I
talking,
asked-
I'm
I
talking
asked
now. You know
that.
what?
It's exactly
We
what
let
I-
you talk, and don't interrupt you, but you can never let anybody get their sentence out. And that's disrespectful, that's disgraceful. You talk
I
about
apologize.
decorum, you talk about decorum.
I
All right, there's
apologize.
nothing inappropriate. Keep interrupting. There's nothing inappropriate about that letter.
If
Thank
I may,
you.
through the chair.
Thank you, Chairman Yonke. And Legislator Sage had her hand raised. So please.
This is recognition of legislators, and I just wanted to make the public aware that early voting starts. And if there are changes that we need to make in the state of New York, get out and vote. Early voting starts Saturday, October 29th. There are 2 early voting spots, one in North Highlands and one at the Putnam County Office Building at 40 Clenida. You can vote and make your voice heard in the state of New York. Election Day is November the 8th. We have a lot of seats up for grabs in the state of New York, from the governor, the senator, congressman, legislature, town boards, all the way down to dog catcher. So if anybody wants to get out and vote and change the state of New York, or keep it the same, it's up to the voter. But I would implore everyone to get out and vote this November 8th. And please, go to early voting. Early voting, make sure that you're out there and your voice is heard. That's all.
Thank you. Legislator
I would just
Nasarino.
like to circle back to the letter, just to be very clear that this was presented individually to each legislator and asked if they wanted to sign. It wasn't cluster, it wasn't together, it wasn't a group just working together in unity to sign this. It was individually sent and asked if we wanted our signature on the letter.
Thank you, Legislator Nasarino. Legislator Montgomery.
Thank you for answering my questions, Attorney Fiorillo, and I apologize for interrupting. If I can't ask questions at a meeting, I don't know why we have meetings, and if my questions upset you and they suddenly turn into anti-this and anti-that, there's lots of opinions coming my way. Every time I ask a question, it's a question, and that's why we have meetings. And thank you for answering the question, and for you also, Legislator Nasarino, for clarifying that.
Anyone else? Being that there's no further discussion, I'll make a motion that we adjourn. Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.